Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So in this video, I wanted to talk about the problem with Muslim men, the issues that are being caused by Muslim men today, and essentially there is a downfall of Muslim men, and it's because of their behavior. So next week, or the week after, I will have another video, and it'll be the problem with Muslim women. So in these videos that I do, they overlap with other videos that I have done, and I do that on purpose because I want to in each video I want to give the most amount of detail I can when explaining the topic of that video. But yeah, they do overlap, but each video has its own separate topic that goes a lot more into detail. So if you look at my other videos, you will notice how there is some content that I do repeat. But I do it because, I want to be more specific and give as many details as possible. Okay, so now onto the video. So there's several aspects that is wrong with many Muslim men today. So starting off, I've talked about these men before. It's the red pill Muslims, the incel Muslims, also known as the anti-feminist Muslim men. So if you want more context about this, just see my video about feminism that I did last year. So these Muslim men, they're mainly on social media, so Reddit and Twitter. And before my Twitter account got deleted, I would, regularly fight with these red pill Muslim men because they are the biggest deviants this ummah has ever seen. Their whole ideology is complete kufr, and they don't seem to realize it. They follow this kufr ideology of red pill and incel because these Muslim men are following these social media influencers, these male social media influencers. A lot of times they're non-Muslim, and they are the ones who are pushing this ideology of red pill and incel and how to be a Chad, how to be an alpha, and all that. And all of this, so many aspects of this ideology goes against Islam. These Muslim men, they're these red pill incel Muslim men. They have such deranged minds and deranged mentalities. You can see yourself on Twitter and on Reddit. You can just search up incel Muslim or red pill Muslims. Sick, disgusting men. Sick, disgusting comments they write. These men, it's like they're getting so triggered so easily at everything that Muslim women do. Something that Muslim women do, it just triggers them, and they have to vent on social media. These men, they use statistics and data of non-Muslim women in the West about their, sexual behavior and drug usage and alcohol usage. And they apply this to Muslim women. They apply it so illogically and irrelevantly. So if a Muslim woman is working or not wearing hijab, They will apply these statistics of non-Muslim women and their sexual behavior and alcohol use and drug use. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense at all. But they do it because they think in their heads they're making some kind of a point. It's a point that only these misguided red pill men understand. No one else would. You can go to some imam or a sheikh or a scholar of Islam and he will be confused when he tried to tell about these red pill Muslim men and what they do. How they use statistics and data of non-Muslim women and apply it to Muslim women. Because, as I said, they're so influenced by these social media influencers, these non-Muslim male social media influencers. You can see them on YouTube, you can see them on Twitter and everything. You know, they always talk lowly of certain kinds of women. And these Muslim men, they follow this and they will apply it to Muslim women. If you're not wearing a hijab, if you're not wearing a niqab, if you're not being a housewife, then you are no different than these non-Muslim women who have, they're engaging in sexual behaviors, engaging in alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. These sick red pill Muslim men, this is how they think. So many times I fought with them on Twitter. I took screenshots repeatedly. I've also got screenshots on my blog. They have sick mentalities. I don't know, obviously these social media influencers have an unfortunate influence on them. That's the main reason why, and I don't know what else, why they act this way and why they adopt this sick, not haram ideology. You know for a fact that these men, these red pill incel Muslim men, they're just, living in their parents' basements, no job, no life, but just to vent on social media about Muslim women. That's all they do. This red pill degeneracy, it's caused Muslim men who believe in this red pill ideology, it's caused them to, just see women as evil and not trustworthy. And we need to spy on them and because they're quote unquote whores, their words. This sick ideology has caused these Muslim men who adopt this red pill ideology to not trust their own mothers and wives and sisters and future wives and daughters. Because in their heads, for some reason, they think Muslim women are being whores. As I said, go to any imam or scholar of Islam and tell him about this. He will immediately tell that these men are misguided, they're sick. You can go to any scholar of Islam. You can go to even the most hardline, the most strict scholar you can find. You can go to these Salafi websites and post a question, and the Salafi scholars, the Salafis are, the most strict kinds of Muslims around, and I'll have a video about them, later, because they themselves are not, totally on the right path because of, of their strictness and their allegiance to Arab culture, but that's a different video. But anyways, yeah, these Salafi Muslims are the most strictest Muslims you'll find. You can tell them about this red pill, this incel ideology that is affecting so many Muslim men. And these Salafi Muslims will immediately reject this sick red pill ideology. These red pill and incel Muslim men, they have created their own deviant sect of Islam. where they just, bully and judge, and there's makes assumptions about Muslim women. That's all they do. They also target Muslim men. I had it on my Twitter. They were targeting Muslim men who didn't believe in their sick ideology. That's one of the reasons I'm thankful, my Twitter account I got deleted, because I was so annoyed dealing with these red pill disgusting men. You would never want your sister or daughter to marry these sick men. And another thing that these red pill and incel Muslim men do, they take hadiths and Quran verses, they take them out of context. I've lost count how many times on Twitter and Reddit and Facebook I kept seeing these misguided Muslim men who do this. They take Quran verses and hadiths out of context. Exact same thing that Islamophobes do. They take Quran verses and hadiths out of context to try and to create a shock effect, where, non-Muslims would further have doubts of Islam and hate on Muslims. And they would also do it because they want Muslims to leave Islam. They take Quran verses and hadiths out of context and just throw it at you and want to see how you react. I talked about this in my video, the other fitna of social media video that I did last year. These red pill Muslim men who troll in the name of Islam. They take Quran verses and hadiths out of context, and they get a pleasure from doing this. They get a pleasure in trolling other Muslims. They get a pleasure in getting under the skin of other Muslims. Red pill and incel Muslims were among the biggest of this, but there were also other Muslims that I talked about who did this, who took Quran verses and hadiths out of context. So yeah, they take, these red pill Muslims, they take Quran verses and hadiths of women out of context, and they do it to get under the skin of Muslim women, and they do it to get under the skin of Muslim men who aren't quote unquote chads, who aren't quote unquote alpha males. Again, go to a scholar of Islam, say that these Muslim men, they take Quran verses and hadiths out of context, and they want to see your reaction. Tell this to a scholar of Islam. You can go to the Salafi ones again. Again, they will reject these men. In my in that social media video that I did last year, I also mentioned, as I said, other kinds of Muslims who do the same thing, take Quran verses and hadiths out of context, and they want to see your reaction. They're also sick and misguided. And yeah, you can, ask any Muslim scholar that there is a section of Muslims, mostly on social media, who take, Islamic scriptures out of context, to see your reaction. And these Muslim scholars, they will totally disown these Muslims that do it. So I'm just trying to show that, these Muslims, red pill Muslims included, who take, Islamic scriptures out of context, they are completely misguided. They're sick in the head. These perverted red pill Muslims, they for some reason, always fantasize about Muslim women getting railed by non Muslim men. They always fantasize about this. They always fantasize about Muslim women engaging in intercourse outside of marriage if they work or go to school in a mixed public school. They always fantasize about this. And they say this because they say, oh, Muslim women, regardless of how old she is or how educated she is, she should always be at home. Because if she goes out, she will become a whore. Their words. They always fantasize about this. They have porn going on in their heads. They're playing porn videos and porn films and porn images in their heads. I retweeted this several times on my Twitter. I came across these sick Muslim males who kept fantasizing that Muslim women are engaging in intercourse, and they would be so graphic. They would say the most graphic, disturbing words when describing all of this. Like I said, they have pornography going on in their heads. They're so stupid. They're exposing themselves. They're exposing to the entire world what they're watching in their spare time. These sick men always talked about our Muslim mothers and daughters and sisters, engaging in intercourse with non-Muslim men if they go to school or if they go to work. Because as I said, they see, for some reason, they see these Muslim men who adopt this red pill ideology, they see Muslim women as evil and immoral, and men are pious and don't do anything wrong. These red pill and incel Muslim men, they act like little children. You remember back in kindergarten when there would be an argument going on among the kids in the playground on who's better, is boys are better than girls or girls are better than boys. These grown Muslim men still act like this. Talk so much about being a Chad and an alpha male, and yet you're acting like a school kid on a playground. These red pill and incel Muslim men, they should look at the Quran verse, is chapter 4, verse 19, and they should think about it. That verse, it talks about women who fear from their husbands and how there's no blame on them if they, want a divorce or get away from them. Why does the Quran specifically mention abusive men there? Because unfortunately, many men, they become abusive towards their wives. So these red pill and incel Muslim men who bicker like school children, why is that verse there in the first place? If women are the evil ones and men are all the pious angels, why does this verse exist? Also think about the Quran verse where it says, those who accuse virgin Muslim women of adultery or fornication, these men, they need to be lashed 80 times or 100 times. I can't remember, one of those two. They need to be lashed. They need to be whipped in public because they're accusing virgin Muslim women of not being virgins. Why does that verse exist? These red pill and incel Muslims ask them, why does this verse exist about men needing to be lashed if they accuse women of not being chaste? if they accuse women of being of engaging in intercourse outside of marriage. Ask them, why does this verse exist? These sick red pill and incel Muslim men, they are essentially asking to be lashed because, as I said, in their heads, for some sick reason, they're thinking that Muslim women, if they're outside of the house, they are engaging in intercourse. They're quote unquote whores, quote unquote sluts. According to the Quran, these men should be lashed in public 80 times. On my Twitter, I retweeted this several times. It was Muslim women who were talking. They were saying they had no idea why they were trending on Twitter. And it's because these Muslim men with this gopher mentality of red pill and incel and men go their own way. It's all one ideology. These men, they were invading the profiles of these women. They were sharing their content, and they would do it because they wanted other Muslim men to go on their profiles and just abuse them. These Muslim women would have random Muslim men come on their profiles and just abuse them, and they don't know what's going on. You might have to see my video of social media and the other fitna of social media, because the amount of people who troll in the name of Islam, giving anonymous platforms to Muslims is a terrible idea, as I mentioned in that video, because you can abuse anyone and you're just behind a screen with a fake name and a fake account. Okay, so that was one aspect, the red pill and incel and men go their own way, Muslim men. That was one aspect of why Muslim men are a problem. Second one, it's being abusive and controlling. So I come from Pakistan. Sex crimes and domestic violence, it's never going to end in Pakistan. Here in the West, there is also a domestic violence problem, also a sex crime problem, but it always occurs in a certain context where alcohol and drugs and mixed gender parties are common. I had the same video I did a few weeks ago. It was the title of it was explaining the reasons why Muslims commit zina and adultery and fornication and engage in drugs and stuff like that. So in the West, that's one of the reasons why domestic violence and sex crimes is so high, is because of alcohol and drugs. But what's the excuse in places like Pakistan where there is no alcohol, where there is no drugs, and it is quote unquote an Islamic country? What's the excuse there? Why is there so many rapes and sexual assaults? I've mentioned this before, and I will make a video about it. The amount of Pakistani Muslim men who have no problem with the concept of rape, no problem with the concept of sexual assault. And if they do have a problem, the problem is that they're just blaming the women. So in places like Pakistan and Egypt and Afghanistan, where sex crimes and domestic violence is so high, they exist, but it's because these men are not taught self-control. They're not taught about consequences. They're not taught about but they're not taught why this is wrong, what they do. They're not taught about, how to think about their actions and words and what it can lead to and how it can affect others. They're not taught this. That's why there's so many sex crimes in many Muslim countries, so much domestic violence, because these men are not taught why it's wrong. Okay, so now here's another aspect of the problem with Muslim men: the inability to be dominant, the inability to be leaders. Okay, so this also includes having manners and ethics. That's part of being a Muslim man who has leadership qualities and dominant qualities. He is respectful, he has manners, he has ethics. And so many Muslim countries, they don't teach this. They don't teach, Muslim men to be dominant, to be leaders of society. And one aspect of being a leader and being dominant is you have to have self-control. You got to control yourself. And you got to be loyal to your religion and culture. And many Muslim countries don't teach this. That's why so many times you see these Muslim women who complain about these Muslim men coming onto their profiles and abusing them. You look at these Muslim men, clean shaven, Western style haircuts and Western clothes. And you see at the same time these clean shaven Muslim men simping hard for white girls. And many Muslim women see this and they say it's unfair because they would also want to do the same thing, go out, dress how they want to, simp after white men or men of other cultures and races, just like how many Muslim men do. So they see it as unfair, and they're going to want to do the same thing. We give so much freedom, and we give so much freedom to Muslim boys and Muslim men, and they take advantage of this and they do whatever they want to. Alcohol, drugs, having girlfriends. And Muslim women see this, they're going to want to do the same thing. When you tell Muslim men to do whatever they want to, and you tell Muslim women to stay quiet, wear hijab, and just stay at home, you're gonna cause Muslim women to become rebellious. That's natural. It's gonna happen, and we see it happen. We see Muslim women in the West who rebel from oppressive homes and start living a non-Islamic lifestyle, and it's because we are giving Muslim men the same path, to live a Western lifestyle with no repercussions at all. Women prefer men who show dominance, who show leadership. Women are attracted to men who have these. And if they're seeing Muslim men who are not being dominant, not being leaders, and they are just, clean shaven, having intercourse with non-Muslim girls, doing drugs and alcohol. Well, there's two things that happen here. Muslim women are not going to be attracted to they're not going to be attracted to Muslim men, so they're going to go for non-Muslim men. Or these Muslim women will follow Muslim men and also live a very sinful lifestyle. The downfall of Muslim women is happening because of Muslim men. You know, being dominant, being a leader, it includes, being caring and being kind and being considerate. This is how Muslim men are supposed to be. And Muslim women are responsible for being the spiritual and cultural backbone of the family. In order to fulfill this, Muslim women need a dominant and caring man who will protect and provide, especially when the women are pregnant or if they have young children, or if they are in need of emotional and physical support. A dominant Muslim man would obviously come and fulfill all of this. And unfortunately, you're not finding Muslim men who have these qualities. This causes a breakdown of the family. Because, as I said, Muslim women are the backbone, the spiritual and cultural backbone of the family. And they can't fulfill that role if Muslim men are not fulfilling theirs. I've listened to some sheikhs on YouTube and Muslim scholars who talk about how to keep your wife's love. And they themselves mention how many Muslim men are not being leaders, not being dominant, not dominating, but just dominant leaders. And they talk about how these Muslim men, they expect their wives to clean up after themselves when they're, after the dinner table or and stuff like that. So in other words, they're saying that these Muslim men are acting like children. And these Muslim women, they're expected to deal with all of this. These Muslim women are married to these Muslim men who act like children. They don't know how to clean up after themselves. They don't know how to take care of themselves. And these Muslim scholars talked about this. They talked about how they've counseled Muslim couples, and they see that Muslim men are essentially just grown-up children. They're man children. They're man babies. They can't clean up after themselves. They don't know how to look after themselves. They don't know how to please their wives. And this goes against the idea that Muslim men are supposed to be leaders. So that's another aspect. Muslim men are failing to be leaders. They're failing to be dominant. Women naturally follow men who are dominant and leaders, and Muslim men are failing at this. The breakdown of Muslim society is happening because of Muslim men not being leaders, not being dominant. And here's another aspect. I've mentioned this a few times already before, and also slightly in this video. So it's the hypocrisy from Muslim men. These Muslim men are always exposing themselves when they come onto the profiles, social media profiles of Muslim women. And they start essentially casting a fatwa on them. But here's the thing, as a Muslim man, why are you on the profile of a Muslim woman in the first place? You're exposing yourself. If you go on the profile of a Muslim woman and write, oh, this is haram, why are you doing this? Why are you wearing this? Why are you drinking that? Why are you eating this? Why are you at this place? The number one question comes back to, why are you on her profile? You're exposing her. You're exposing for being on the profile of a Muslim woman, of a non-mahram woman. Why are you on her profile in the first place? I can't tell you how many times I've seen this. You know, I saw on Twitter, I retweeted this too. You know, there was Muslim women were discussing how they have to disable comments on their Facebook or Instagram or TikToks because Muslim men, either with fake accounts or their actual real accounts, they always come on to the profiles of these Muslim women. They scan every photo or video and then write a judgmental comment or a nasty comment, and they try to Islamically justify it. They will say, oh, I have the right to say this because I'm just trying to guide you. Again, here's the thing. Why are you on her profile in the first place? Why are you looking at every single photo of her? Why are you looking at every single video of her? You expose yourself for being on the profile of a Muslim woman. You expose yourself for not lowering your gaze. Do you not see the hypocrisy there? Do you not see how it's contradicting there? You're going onto the profile of a Muslim woman, looking at everything that she's doing, and then saying, yeah, this is haram. All of that goes to waste. It goes to waste because you are not supposed to be on the profile in the first place. You know, I have screenshots of this from Twitter and Facebook and how these Muslim men go through the content of these Muslim women on their social media profiles and then say something very vicious and insulting, or they try to justify it in the name of Islam. If they have fake accounts, then obviously, you know, they have no picture or a fake name, and they do it because, you know, they like trolling in with the fake account. They stand up for true Islam, yet they hide behind a fake identity. I always find that hilarious. And if they have a real account, and you can see on their profiles, on these profiles of these men, they themselves often have very westernized haircuts. They themselves wear westernized clothes and they take selfie after selfie, and you can see the profiles that they follow, and it's like they're following the profiles of women who engage in pornography. I mentioned this before. I have a screenshot of this from 2015, I think, or 2014 on my blog. There was a guy who this was on YouTube. He was, you know, trying to act all religious and saying, "Oh, you're doing this is haram. This, you know, you're not acting according to Islam and this and that." And it was on, I think the video was about a Muslim woman or something like that. And you go onto his profile and you can see the accounts that he follows, the videos that he follows. It's all porn. It's all nude women. You know, I mentioned this before, but like, I think in 2014 or 2015, YouTube, it linked your YouTube channel, your YouTube profile to something called Google Circle or Google Plus. I can't remember. And on it was linked, you know, so you could see what the other person liked, what the other person followed, what they commented on. And I don't know how many times, I'd say 6 out of 10 times or so, at least half, more than half, you see a video You look at the comments, there is a Muslim guy saying this is haram. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You go on to his profile and it's nothing but haram content on his profile. They forget to private up their account, you can see everything. That's hypocrisy. How many verses in the Quran are there that talk about hypocrites? How many hadiths are there where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, where he speaks, very negatively about hypocrites? And we see literal living examples right here. Hypocrite Muslim men exposing themselves, exposing the content they follow. And another thing, if these Muslim men, if they have their content all private up, so you can't see what they like and what they follow, but you can see that they're following the same pattern of going on to the profiles of Muslim women and writing, this is haram, that is haram. Guaranteed, these men, they privated up their profile because they have haram content on there. Guaranteed. On the also on Twitter, I came across these profiles where it was non-practicing Muslim girls. They were tweeting how quote unquote religious Muslim men approached them at bars and nightclubs and told them to dress Islamically. I retweeted this on my Twitter. Like think about it. So these non-practicing Muslim girls, they are saying they are at a bar, at a nightclub, and Muslim men come right towards them at the bar, at the nightclub, saying, "This is haram. Why are you doing this?" Like, doesn't it make you laugh? You see the hypocrisy there again? I retweeted this one on my Twitter. There was a Muslim guy. He said that he always sees Muslim girls at nightclubs and bars. And then there was a quick-witted response by a Muslim woman. I remember it's in that retweet, where she responded to him by saying, "Okay, so did you see all of this through a mosque window? Did you see all of this while you were in the masjid and you look out and you see out the window and you see all of this?" In other words, how can you know all of this? How can you know all these Muslim men and Muslim women? How can you know all these Muslim women are at these bars and nightclubs? How can you know that? How can you publicly write it on Twitter? How can you publicly complain about it? How can you publicly complain and say, how can you say, you're annoyed that you're seeing these Muslim women at bars and nightclubs? How can you say that? It's because you yourself are in a bar and nightclub. You exposed yourself. There was a trend that happened. It was set by non-Muslims, and what they would do is they would take a thumbnail of a video or something featuring nude women, and what they would do, this was also trending on Twitter, and it was trending on the Islamophobia Twitter. So these Islamophobic these Islamophobes, they would set traps to trap Muslims into and expose them. So what they would do is they would have a scantily clad woman as a thumbnail on a video or something, and then they would proceed in that video or photo. They would say something about Islam, how it's They would say something Islamophobic, and then they would take screenshot after screenshot of all these Muslim men who came to that video or photo and started saying, "Oh, you can't say this about our religion" and stuff like that. They did it because they knew that Muslim men would come to this photo or video of a nude woman or scantily clad woman, and they know that that they would expose themselves. They know that they would expose themselves. It became so hilarious that it started trending on Twitter, and Muslim men kept falling for it. They kept falling for these videos and pictures of nude women where they'd go on, and then there'd be a caption or something after that saying, something anti-Islamic, and these Muslim men would expose themselves. So that's one aspect, the hypocrisy of Muslim men, how they expose themselves. And you will see this non-stop over and over again. You can ask these Muslim men, why are they on these videos and profiles of women in the first place? They'll have no answer. Or they'll just lie and say, oh, it just came up. Yeah, it just came up randomly. So they add to their sins by lying. So here's another aspect. Muslim men need to consider how they appear on social media. Stop wearing tight clothing. Stop wearing revealing clothing. Stop showing off your muscles. Stop showing off your six-pack. Stop showing off your chests. I'm talking to Muslim men here who show off their gym bodies. Okay, because Muslim women and non-Muslim women, they are attracted to handsome men. Would you like it if you saw your wife or your sister or your daughter looking at photos of these Muslim men who are essentially naked or half naked? No, you wouldn't like it. So we have to tell our Muslim sons and brothers, and if you're a Muslim woman, you need to tell your Muslim husband, dress appropriately. Don't show off your body. Don't show off your muscles. Don't show off your legs. Muslim men who go to the gym, they have a habit of this, showing off their bodies. And you know what? We live in a world where, I think it was 40 or 50% of the latest generation identifies as gay or lesbian. There was some Gallup poll, I can't remember. I can't remember exactly which study it was, but you can Google it, and you can just Google keywords like latest generation identifies as gay, mostly gay or something like that, and it'll show that the latest generation, the youngest generation, 50% of them are identifying as homosexual. So in this world that we live in, it makes even more sense for Muslim men to be very conscious of how they appear in public. Is your shirt too tight? Are your pants too tight? Because, stats show 50% of men are going to be having dirty thoughts about you. This is the world we live in now. 50% of men are going to think of you sexually. 50% of men are going to think of other men as in a sexual manner. So to Muslim men, be conscious of how you appear on social media. Stop showing off your bodies. Stop showing off your chests and abs and legs. I when I had my Facebook account, I deleted it or disabled it recently. There, I had some Muslim male friends who, I can say as a man, yeah, they were, good looking. I can say that as a man, yeah, they're good looking. Nothing wrong with me saying that. There's nothing wrong with a man noticing that another man is good looking. That's fine. And I had Muslim male friends like that. Objectively, they're good looking, and they took advantage of this. On social media, they'd post themselves in very questionable poses because they knew that they were attracting the attention of women and men. I mean, I would not want to post a video or photo of myself where 50% of the comments are men making sexual comments about you. I don't know how you as a man can take that. I don't know how you as a man can feel comfortable doing that. 50% of the comments are gay men who are saying the most inappropriate comments about you. Here's another aspect. Muslim men need to stop with the attention on social media. And what I mean by this is these Muslim male influencers on social media, so Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and how they do anything for attention, how they do anything for views. You know, like I'm talking about these Muslim pranksters who do these cringe pranks. Like that guy Kareem Jovian. I did my second video ever 5, 6 years ago about this. This guy, he does the cringiest pranks, which only increase Islamophobia. There's one social media experiment that he did where he there was a Muslim girl with him, and she was wearing a hijab and jilbab, and he was playing the role of an abusive husband or brother, I can't remember, and he was, verbally assaulting her and pretending to hit her in public. And all these white people around him obviously had stopped it. And then he would say, "Oh, look, you're on social media. Good on you for being a good person." Idiot. You're increasing Islamophobia this way. You're increasing stereotypes of Muslims this way. By the way, Kareem Jovian blocked me on Twitter because he did that stupid experiment where he would have a Muslim, where he had a friend with him, and she would dress very scantily, and she'd walk in a neighborhood, and all these men would make comments about her, all these sexual comments. And then he did another segment where he took that same girl and put a hijab on her, and he wanted to show the reaction. And this got a lot of criticism from Muslims because it was saying that you're justifying harassment and you're ignoring the harassment that when Muslim women in hijab that they go through. Hijab does not stop harassment. It does not stop sexual assault. And he had a video basically saying, hijab stops harassment. It doesn't. And I pressed him on this on Twitter, and he kept giving me weird responses, and he just blocked me after that. Kareem Jovian himself is not a practicing Muslim. He doesn't care about Islam. He does whatever he wants to. He has a video where it was after a terror attack somewhere, and he had a video where he blindfolded himself and he held up a sign, "I'm Muslim, hug me if you're not a racist or something like that." And of course, there's lots of non-Muslim girls who come and give him a hug. So he's not a practicing Muslim. He does stupid experiments all the time. I seriously hope his downfall comes soon. Moron. So yeah, stop with the cringe prank culture. Stop with the videos where you just want to get views. This goes back to my earlier point that I did about hypocrisy. There's also I've come across these Muslim influencers on YouTube where they take screenshots and screen videos of Muslim women from their profiles and then post it on their own profiles just so they can say, oh, this is haram. These Muslim male influencers, they do it for views and they also at the same time expose themselves. Here's another aspect. There is unfortunately a gang culture among Pakistani, Arab, Afghan, and Somali youth in the West, in Western countries. Gang cultures are not good. They are, it's criminal in nature. Once you get into a gang, it's difficult to get out. And it won't be you who suffers, it'll be your family who suffers. And this gang culture, it's a problem in the Muslim community. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I came to the masjid and the sermon was about how Muslim men, obviously, and boys need to stay away from gangs. Okay, here's another aspect. So no ghira. I have done a video on the concepts of ghira, dayuth, and tabarruj. I did it last year. That video, it clearly tells and explains these concepts. So I don't want to repeat what I said in that video. But many Muslim men have no ghira for their sisters and wives and daughters. They are cuckolds. These wives and sisters and daughters, sometimes they can dress inappropriately, and these Muslim men don't care. The brothers and husbands, they don't care. That's an issue. But yeah, see my video on that. It goes much more into detail and stuff. Here's another aspect: Muslim fathers being absent from the family. This causes severe issues among children. Okay, you know the term daddy issues? This term is for girls who live a very promiscuous lifestyle, and they do so because they didn't have a strong fatherly figure at home. The fatherly figure either ran away and didn't care about the kids, or he spent so much time at work and didn't really care about the family. So it causes issues for girls that there is no strong fatherly figure, and they turn to a promiscuous lifestyle. And the boys become criminals themselves because there's no fatherly figure at home. So I mentioned earlier how Muslim men are failing to be dominant leaders. So this causes Muslim women not to want us. They're going to go after non-Muslim men. They are leaving us because Muslim men are not being dominant leaders. They're not being kind and considerate. They're just being fools. Muslim women are leaving Muslim men because of the image that many Muslim men are creating about marriage and how to raise children, how to be a good husband. Many Muslim men are failing to do all of this. So can you blame Muslim women if they rebel and choose to have a non-Muslim husband? as I said, many Muslim cultures lack in this, where they fail to bring up proper Muslim men, proper Muslim boys to be good Muslims. They fail in this, so Muslim women, they will rebel and they will go after a non-Muslim man instead. Okay, I'm about to wrap it up here. Um, yeah, Islam says men have to work and earn for the family, and women are the primary caretakers of children. But this is no excuse for men to devote their entire lives to work and neglect their children. Muslim men need to be involved in child raising and taking care of the kids as well. And just wrapping it up here. So we need to hold Muslim men and Muslim boys accountable for the sins because no one keeps a check on us. I, as a Muslim man, can post a video of me drinking, having a non-Muslim girlfriend, no one's gonna say anything. We need to keep a check on Muslim boys. We need to keep a check on what on their social media profiles. Parents need to keep a check on the social media profiles of their sons. Keep a check on the lifestyles of their sons. Okay, because as I said, Muslim men get away with a lot of sinful things. Yeah, so keep a watch on what idols your son follows. Make sure he's not following these pathetic social media influencers. Muslim men who actively follow and basically worship these social media influencers. It's a huge red flag. These social media influencers, they have a catastrophic effect on Muslim men. These influencers are constantly surrounded by women and money and mixed martial arts. Muslim men, unfortunately try to copy this and try to link it with Islam. I want to make a quick note here. I mentioned, the hypocrisy of Muslim men on social media and how they go to the profiles of, Muslim women. I mentioned in my last video where I had to block many of my Muslim friends on Facebook because I came across profiles of Muslim women who were sinful, as were Muslim men. The difference between me and these hypocrites is that I didn't purposely seek out these Muslim women and search for their profiles and search for any kind of sinful behavior that they're doing. It literally just came up on my profile. I just came across them because my own Muslim friends would have these Muslim women on their profiles. But I only, would see what appeared on their profile pictures. I would not purposely go onto their profiles and search through every photo and video and scan everything like these hypocrites do. And more to the point, I would never write a comment saying, "Oh, this is haram." I would never expose myself. That's the difference between me and those hypocrites I talked about. So yeah, we need to have, control over Muslim men. We need to have measures that control Muslim men, because Muslim men get away with anything they want to. And Muslim men need to take advice and not act out when they are told that what they're doing is haram. I've seen Muslim men just lose their minds when another Muslim says, hey, relax, don't do anything haram, and these Muslim men just lose their minds. It happens because their parents didn't keep a check on him. It happens because the Muslim community never kept a check on Muslim boys. We need to keep Muslim men in line. Okay, that's it.